All right, I think we're working. We should be live. I am Drew Badger, the founder of EnglishAnyone.com, and welcome to another live video here on YouTube. Today, as usual, we're going to be talking about fluency, and I wanted to cover this from a slightly different angle and really show you how you can get fluent really as quickly as you want to. So let's see if chat is working. Make sure the video is live over here. If you are in chat, say hello, click the like button, let me know you are alive over here and that everything is working. I think we should be okay. We'll see if chat comes in over here. All right, I'll just keep that open. Whoa, Tsubasa, irashaimashite ne. Hello, nice to see you there. Good morning. Tsubasa, what do you do? What is your job? Because you should be working right now if you are. Chat is working, he says. All right, I'm glad to hear it. Where's my eraser? All right, this should be a fun video. We always have new people coming to the channel, especially new people who don't know much about getting fluent in English like they're learning their first language. And so I'm always excited to welcome new people. Nice to see you there. Louis, let's see. Iftikhar, nice to see you there. Nauman, Alejandro, what's up, bro? From Mexico, Sandia, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Allison, Vishuddhi, George is back. Nice to see you there. All right, everybody is working over there. Just moved to Canada and faces some issues to understand native accent and speaking. Yes, so this is part of what we will talk about. Oh, you're an English teacher. Oh, really? All right then. Actually, I got an email yesterday from an English teacher in the United States, and he was like, "Wow, I can't believe like he was just starting to learn about getting fluent and helping people learn English as a first language." And so he had also arrived at the same conclusion, and was happy to he found my videos. And he was just really happy to find that. I thought that was great. But it's always happy, or I'm always happy to see people from like just other countries or whatever that are also helping people learn. And so if I can help you learn, let me know. So this video, again, we're going to be talking about fluency, and I really want to explain to people what you need to get fluent, because when you understand this, you really can get fluent as quickly as you like. So I will go through this quick lesson, and then as usual, go back and answer any questions people have, but do keep the chat flowing. Keep clicking the like button. Let me know, make sure that you understand what I'm saying, that you're enjoying this, and that we can move along and enjoy the video together. All right, so basically how this works, most people think, so most English learners think, and this is not only English learners, but most language learners in general think they need immersion to get fluent, like they need to be living in a particular place. So let's say you are from Morocco or Brazil or wherever, some of the people in the chat are from there. So they think that they can't get fluent unless they live in the United States or Canada or the UK or wherever. So being around English-speaking people, being in that specific physical environment, they think they need that in order to get fluent. But the truth is, lots of people do live in English-speaking countries for years and still don't get fluent. So that's not what you need. They also think they need to be young. So maybe, oh no, I'm too old to get fluent, or I need to have like a private teacher in order to get fluent. Excuse me. But you don't. And the reason actually we don't offer private lessons, even though every day I get emails requesting, like, please teach me privately. The reason I don't do that is because you need more than one person to get you fluent. You really need, there's like I forget what country it's from, maybe like Ghana or something. It's like an African proverb. It takes a village to raise a child. And this means you need to get lots of input from lots of different people in order to become fluent. So rather than just one teacher, and typically a teacher, even me, is going to be teaching you a little bit more slowly, making things a little bit easier, you really need to get lots of input. So let me tell you a quick story, and then we'll go over this lesson, and hopefully this makes a bit more sense to people. But a few years ago, so my older daughter, Aria, is now 8 years old, and she is in second grade in elementary school. I have a younger daughter as well who is 4, and she is, so Noelle, my younger daughter, She is second year kindergarten right now. So when my older daughter Aria was in kindergarten, her first year, she had this little card that she would take to work, and she would get a little stamp or a sticker every day. And so as a young girl, she learned the word like shuseki kado. So that it's just Japanese, like, just imagine, this is kind of a language learning story, so I'm not going to tell you what it means. You can kind of guess what it means. But it's a little card, and you would bring it to school, and you would get a little stamp every day. And so how old was she? I don't know, 4 years old or 3 years old or something, going into school. And just learning that. And she's probably heard the word card before. So in Japanese, also the word like kado is used it's the same way it's used in English. So it's taken from English, actually. But shuseki, I'm going to explain what that means in a second. But if you think about a young child hearing, like, here's just a piece of paper, you get little stamps on it, and it's shuseki kado is the name of the thing. And I heard that when she was going to school, and that was the first time I heard that word, shuseki. And I didn't really think much about it. I was just like, I wasn't really hearing it. So that was, let's say I heard that, for example, I don't know, like 3 years ago. So I first hear the word, I'm going to just write it up here in English. So shuseki. And so I hear this word, and this is a couple of years ago, and I didn't really think much about it, and I never used the word myself. But a few years later, I was hearing an example about going to like a business meeting. And it was talking about using this same word, shusekisuru, like to do this thing. And so I hear the word the first time, and I don't really understand it perfectly. I don't know exactly what it means. I just know it's the name of this little card. But then I hear it again about a business meeting. So at first, when I heard it, I thought maybe this means, I don't know, something to do with a school. I don't know exactly what that word meant. But when I heard it again about going to a meeting, and in that context, it was like to attend the meeting. And so I remembered, like immediately I remembered back to that example, and it's like, oh, attendance card. And it didn't occur to me because I needed both of these examples to help me understand what that meant. All right? And so the same way when a young child is learning a language, they will often hear examples of something but not really understand that. So the first time they hear something, they might recognize the word and think, okay, people are talking about this thing when people use a word, but they might not really understand what it means. And I was the same way. So even as an adult, I hear the word one time, I know we're talking about like a little card. It's got some, like here are the days of going to school. You get a stamp each time you go to school, but I don't really understand what that means. All right. And so when I heard it the second time, I finally understood, it just means attendance card. Okay. So it's from these two examples together that helped me understand something. All right. Now, why is this important? Why am I sharing this story? I have a piece of paper here, and I thought I would be able to demonstrate this idea in the same way. So here's my piece of paper. I'll just put some magnets up on the board here. Now, remember that as I said previously, or a little bit earlier in the video, you don't become fluent by living in an English-speaking country. You don't have to do that, all right? It's not necessary. It's nice if you can, the same way it's nice if you can speak with other people, but you don't have to. It's nice if you can, all right? But what you absolutely need to do, what you must have to get fluent, is understandable messages that help you understand something like a native. So take two examples here. First time I hear the word shuseki in Japanese. Now I could hear that again and again and again and repeating that word again and again, shuseki, 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 but it doesn't help me learn more. The repetition doesn't help me understand the word better. It's only after I got this second example that it clicked in my mind. So you can say like I understood something, or it clicked in my mind. I finally understood it. So I wasn't really thinking that hard, and this happens all the time. So I hear words and maybe I don't understand it in that moment, but it goes into my mind, and later a connection is made where I finally understand something like a native. So I wasn't translating anything when I learned Shuseki or heard Shuseki that second time. I automatically made that connection, okay? So remember, you don't need to live in an English-speaking country to get fluent. You don't need to have a private teacher to get fluent. You don't need to just practice speaking to yourself in a mirror. You don't need to repeat words every day to get fluent. The only thing you really must have is the ability to understand something. Now, the title of this video is How Quickly Do You Want to Get Fluent? And so that's this example right here. If you look at the time span here, from the first time I heard this until I heard another example, this was like 3 years, all right? So this is a 3-year time span. Now, if I want to get fluent faster, what do I have to do? See if you can answer this question, because this really is the secret to getting fluent faster. So what do I have to do to get fluent faster? I don't have to quickly move to an English-speaking country. I don't have to move to be even around native speakers where I am. I don't have to practice speaking all the time. From this example, what do I have to do if I want to get fluent faster? See if anybody in the chat can answer this question. It should be pretty easy from my example, but I'll just give it one more time, let people put something down there. All right, yes, so the psychotic is back. The psychotic American teacher, get many different examples of a word. Yes, and so really you need as many examples as possible until you get to the point where you understand something. So for me, it only took 2 examples. So I don't need to hear 500 examples of the word to understand it. From 2 examples, it clicked in my mind, and yes, like now I feel confident to use that word. All right. So before that, if I heard Shuseki, I don't really know what that means. Does that mean school, or does that mean like this kind of like stamp or sticker or something like that? I don't really know what it means. But after hearing another example in an unrelated to school situation, then I know like, okay, we're talking about to attend something. And so then I go back to this in my mind and I think, oh yeah, it's just an attendance card, just like we have in American schools. So you have an attendance card or your attendance sheet, and then I got that, oh, look at that, Shuseki. And so it clicks in my mind, I understand what it means. The only problem is that it took me 3 years to do this. So the only problem is it took me 3 years to do this, okay? So if we draw our example again, let's say I have, so this is the first time over here, this is our span of 3 years, and then I hear the word again that really helped me write with like, or help me understand this thing. So this is the second example. This is example number 1. Let's see. And so this took me 3 years. I'm sorry, I'm not writing very well on a on this piece of paper. It looks like a green, but yes, it means 3 years over here. So what do I have to do to get fluent faster? We have this time period. We just need to get the examples faster. That's it. All right? So if we close the amount of space between these, if we can reduce that, if I can get one example and then I hear another example almost immediately after that, and that helps me understand something, then I became fluent in this word almost instantly. Does that make sense? So if you think about children, like children learning vocabulary, learning words, learning grammar, pronunciation, all of that, children have very little control over how they learn. So if they have a good teacher, they will have like, maybe they will get an example and the teacher will try to make something understandable as quickly as possible. But most children, they will just hear something and they don't really know how to learn that faster by themselves. But we can do this. So we can actually choose to get fluent faster, and we can remove all of this time because there's no real learning that's happening during this time. It's this example and this example that help me understand something. And so if I can get those like one right after the other, then I can get fluent much faster. Does that make sense? So the only thing that's really controlling me or kind of stopping me from getting fluent as quickly as possible is just getting understandable messages that help me understand the vocabulary like a native. Because until I really understand a word, I'm not going to feel confident about using it. I have to feel confident that I understand a word, I'm using it in the right context, I understand when I should use it, to what people I can use it with. All right, so all of these things, like they come, like look at that, like just in this case, it only took 2 examples. So maybe sometimes it takes, like 3 or 4 or more, but the point is, instead of spending 10 years to understand something, you understand it almost instantly if you can learn it the right way, okay? So if you get these examples faster, so instead of taking 3 years, we can take maybe 1 minute and really understand something. And then we can learn that, we understand it, we feel confident about using it, and we move on to the next word. And that's how we can become fluent word by word as quickly as possible. Isn't that cool? So when I ask people, how quickly do you want to get fluent? This is what I mean. Do you want to learn things quickly, understand them quickly, and then be able to use them quickly? Or do you want to spend more time and like wait for maybe you get an example, something like that? So this is really the way that people typically learn. Even native speakers will learn like this. But you, as an adult learner, you can control your learning and get fluent much faster, even faster than a native, because you can control the kinds of examples that you get and how frequently or how close they are together. Isn't that cool? So you can get fluent faster. You can choose actually how quickly you want to become fluent by how quickly you get the examples that help you understand something. It's the understanding that gets you fluent. It's not where you live or like me repeating something to myself. Again, I could spend 3 years just repeating the word shuseki to myself over and over and over again, but I don't really understand what it means. Only when I understand what it means from these multiple examples do I get it. All right? All right, let me go back and answer some questions. Hopefully that makes sense. I just wanted to give a quick lesson about that, but we should be able to answer some questions. But it really proves that you can become fluent as quickly as you get the examples. That's really how quickly you can get fluent. This is why in Fluent for Life, we want to really truncate this, I'll write this word, there's a good new word for you up here. To truncate, maybe a new word for many of you. This just means it takes something and make it smaller, to truncate something. So I want to truncate the amount of time between the different examples so that as you're learning something, your mind is like, look at that, I got it. All right, let's look at comments. If you have questions about this, let me know, but it should be a pretty simple idea. All right, Diana says, to develop a speech, what is the most important thing? So again, if you mean like developing speech or developing a speech. So a speech would mean like you're giving a speech. I've written a speech. But if you mean just speech in general, this is the most important thing. Understanding is the most important thing. When you understand something like a native, you can use it like a native. Isn't that cool? So the alternative or the opposite way of doing that is to try to understand something through your first language. So if I learned shuseki and I just got a translation of it, then maybe I understand, okay, this is an attendance card, but maybe I don't make the connection that I can also use the same word when talking about attending a meeting. Maybe I just don't think about it. But because I learned it in Japanese and understood it as a Japanese speaker would understand that, then I can use it fluently. So I know when I can talk about like attending a meeting in the same way, all right? So it's understanding that gets you fluent. If you don't understand something, you won't feel confident using it. All right, Alejandro, thumbs up automatically right off the bat. Thank you very much. Allah says, teacher, we want your live lessons every 2 days at most. Well, I have many hundreds of videos that you can go back and watch. Also, we got many hundreds of videos in Fluent for Life. And so the people who want to get fluent faster, all the video content is already there. Most of what I do on YouTube is trying to help people understand the foundation of learning like this. So just showing that you really can get fluent faster by how quickly you get examples. All right. Let's see, word it says, your opinions are different from the other English, you wrote couches, but coaches' opinions. Well, yes, I think in general, my idea about language learning is that you should be learning language, any language, the same way you learn your first language. So to me, there's no difference between learning French or German or Chinese. I'm going to learn them all the same way. So I'm going to learn Chinese as a Chinese speaker would learn Chinese. I don't want to translate from English into Chinese. I want to learn Chinese in Chinese. And if I learn Chinese through English, then I'm going to think about English when I speak Chinese. So often I will meet people here in Japan and they know quite a lot of English, but they don't actually speak very fluently because they have to think about what they want to say. First they think in Japanese, then they translate that, and then they try to speak in English. But that's not actually communicating fluently, it's just trying to struggle and hesitate, and you're not actually being able to express yourself. So if you want to express yourself, you have to understand it the same way a native does. So there's nothing stopping you from communicating. So when I think about translations or grammar rules or something, that's stopping me from expressing myself. So I don't want to do that. I want to be able to just speak the way I'm speaking right now. Let's see. So Naman says, nice example. Let's see. All right. So related to real life things. Yes, again, like, just to make this very clear, it just means you understand something. Like you recognize it, you feel, it's a process you feel, now I got it. I call that the aha moment, when you learn something in another language without anyone even telling you what it means. Obviously, you can get examples and definitions and things, but it's best if you get those all in that language. So you should be learning English in English. So Alejandro says, better write 3-year with the dash for those who doesn't. You would say those who don't understand the difference in using 3 years instead. Not my case, though. Well, if I'm talking about, I think I made a video about this, Alejandro, a while ago. But if I'm talking about like a 3-year-old baby. So it's like a three-year-old baby, like that, with the dash in there, or like a 5-day trip. 5-day trip. So I've got the dash in there because I'm connecting this as like a modifier of this. It's a 5-day trip. But I don't need the dash if I'm just saying it's 5 days. Okay. Let's see here. All right. And going back to get, let's see if I get anything else here. All right, hopefully, it looks like people are getting the example though. All right, but hopefully that makes sense, Alejandro. Let's see, as and when needed. Around, what do you mean by that? So understand the word, yes. So understand it, be able to use it quickly, yes. So when you understand something like a native, and like a native just means like, I get it. Like, I don't need to think and translate anything in my native language. I just understand it all in English, or whatever the language you're studying. HA says, in order to speak fluently, one needs to listen to the language daily, like eating and drinking to live, stay alive. But if that were true, then all of the people living in English-speaking countries would be fluent, but they are not. Many people live in English-speaking countries and they hear English all the time, but they're still not fluent. And the reason is because they don't really understand the language like a native. That's it. All right. So it's important to understand that, and that way people can make sure, like, just being around the language isn't going to help you understand it. And even if you do understand it, you can get fluent much faster if you are systematic about how you get those examples. So if you can, instead of spending, like this one, so I was in the Japanese environment, learning the same way a Japanese child does, but it just took 3 years to understand the word. 3 years. Think about that. There's nothing special about the word shuseki that's difficult. It's just, it took me 3 years to understand it because I couldn't make that connection in my mind of what it meant. I needed more examples, and I needed enough examples. In this case, I only needed 2, but I just needed enough to get me thinking like, now I understand what that means. All right. So that's the secret. All right, Jewel says, from Bangladesh, so how can we increase the number of understanding such examples? So again, we do this in Fluent for Life, or if you're just trying to do it by yourself, you want to be getting more examples of the word. It could be just even like Googling a word like this in English and see all the different examples you get. Or you could use like Youglish as an example of that. You'll see different examples of words, or even just searching on YouTube. If you put in whatever, like the word bridge, you will get lots of examples of that. Or I can do an image search on Google and get the same thing. But the point is, I should be getting enough examples until I understand something. If I don't really understand something, then I'm not going to feel confident using it. And then that means I'm not fluent in that vocabulary. All right. So the way Joel says, the way you explain really have changed my English world. Thank you, sir. Well, it's my pleasure. Glad to be helpful. The dream of Caesar. Hello, everyone. Let's see here. So Alejandro, I didn't know that, bro. That's why I said not my case. Thanks anyway. Okay. Well, I'm just making sure I read that clearly. All right. So how to make the native speaking mindset. So this is the native speaking mindset. Again, either you were thinking in English or you're not really thinking at all, or you're translating from your native language. And so if you understand something as a native speaker, then you can use it like a native speaker. But if you have to think and translate, then that's where you struggle to speak. So you have to get examples until you understand something. But the point of this video is just, I wanted to give a very simple, clear, easy example of, look, it only is like the understanding here and here, but it's not like it takes a long time to do that. There's just a long time between the examples. So if you can get the examples faster, you can get fluent faster. So you just need to decide how quickly you want to get fluent, and if there's a specific word or phrase or something that you don't quite understand, then get more examples of that thing. So this is what we do in Fluent for Life, and this is why we organize it systematically to make sure people get those examples as quickly as possible. So I want to do, this is one example with vocabulary, but I want to do the same thing with pronunciation. So if you hear me say something, you might try to copy my pronunciation, but you should also hear other people saying the same thing. So it's important to hear me and 5 other people saying something similar or the same thing, because that's how you're learning in real life. So we're trying to take the real life learning situation, but make it systematic. So much more systematic and efficient than how a native speaker would even learn their own language. So an adult learner who starts at, let's say they're 30 years old or 40 years old, 50 years old, and then you have a baby native English speaker, the adult learner should be getting fluent much faster than the baby. All right, so even the baby is just spending most of the time listening to things and not really understanding anything for a while. But the adult learner can start speaking very quickly, so you can actually get fluent faster than a native. Isn't that cool? So you don't need to spend a lot of time trying to live in English-speaking countries or practice speaking or whatever. The practice is this, like it's really just the understanding that comes, and you can get that very quickly if you either get those examples yourself or you get someone like me to give them to you. That's how you do it. All right, thanks so much for answering my questions. My pleasure. Well, Ellen is back. Konnichiwa, Drew. I'm happy to see you. When and where can I meet your dad so I would be able to practice your lessons with him? I don't know. I have to talk with my dad about that. Maybe he'll come on. I should have done a video again. I haven't done a video with him in a while. But all right, let's see. Alejandro says, then according to your theory, which I truly support, those audiobook English for sleeping don't worth? You mean like not worth it? Or are you trying to say they don't work? I've never tried learning a language through sleeping. Maybe that works. I don't know. I don't know. But like the important thing is not really how you get the information. Like you could get this from me in a video like this, or you could read it somewhere. You would get the same idea. It's important to hear the word, but you could still learn it through reading about it. So in my case, I actually got like this first example was my wife talking to my daughter about like put your like card in your backpack. And then this example over here, I just read it in a book. So it was a Japanese book, and I read the example, and it was like, shiseki. Shuseki kado. Okay, I get it. Like attendance card, I understand what that means. And so you don't have to get it from any particular source. It's nice if you can see it and hear it and read it and even try writing the word down. So if I want to try to like write the word down, that would help me understand it even better. So especially in the case of Japanese, where you have like the picture of the word means something, we don't have that in English because our language is phonetic. So it's just like you look at a word like cat, and like there's nothing, if you don't know what this means, there's nothing about the letters that tells you it's a cat. It's just written this way. But like a word like in Japanese, like if we have like that, like this is yama for mountain, and it kind of looks like a mountain. So people will learn the language this way, and they will think like, oh, like I can kind of understand it a little bit more. So it's important, especially when learning, like when people are talking about their names in Japanese, often they were like, well, it's this kanji or this character. So people are trying to explain what it looks like. And so there are all of these different things you can use to like make the understanding faster. And so as a teacher, it's my job to try to make this process as quick as possible. So I wanted to give you the first example, then a second example, third example, as many examples as you need. And if I'm a good teacher, I can do it in maybe one or two. But maybe something is just more difficult, it needs more time, and you need more examples. So there's nothing wrong with that, it's just that's what you need. But the point is that if you get the examples faster, you get fluent faster. So how quickly do you want to get fluent? That's the question of this video. All right, moving on. Let's see here. All right, Alejandro again, then, all right, I answered that one. So Aretha says, my problem before I said something in English, I usually thinking in my native language to said or to write anything. Yes. So again, there are two processes here. There is learning English. So there's learning English as a second language, and most people are doing this. This is called ESL, so learning English as a second language. And this is where you learn something, so you have your native language, and then you learn a definition or a translation in English. So I gave, let's say I'm learning Portuguese is my native language, and I'm trying to learn English. So I will begin with Portuguese, and like Latin languages or languages with like an English alphabet or the same characters are going to be easier. So Japanese, like the written characters are completely different from English, but it's still the same idea. So young children, they're not using any written characters anyway, they're just listening to the sound. So a native English speaking child is connecting, so this is the English as a first language approach. You have a situation, and then you're connecting that with the vocabulary, so whatever that is. But because you translate when you learn, then you have to translate when you speak. That's why this happens. But a native speaker, they're not translating anything. They're just learning in this situation, you use this vocabulary. So like if something drops on my head, I say, ouch. Little kids look at that and they say, oh, okay, when I drop something on my head, I say, ouch. Or when I'm angry at someone, I say this. Or when I'm frustrated, I say that. Or when I go to the bank, I say this. So it's always a situation connecting with the vocabulary. So there's a connection there. It's just, what are you connecting? Are you connecting a translation with the English language, or are you just learning the situation and connecting English vocabulary with that? So if you struggle with this specific problem, it's because you're learning English as a second language. It's not your fault. This is the way everybody teaches. Well, everybody but me. But in general, when you're learning a language as a second language, that's what's going to cause those problems. So how you learn is how you speak. If you learn through translations, you will think about translations when you speak. But if you don't, if you can understand something in English or in the language you're studying, then you can use it without thinking. You use it without hesitating, without translating, thinking about rules, that kind of thing. So that's how you do it. All right, Alejandro again, Drew, could you record a video in Japan talking with other people? It'd be so nice. Like a video of me speaking Japanese with other people? Like just to hear me speaking Japanese, or what would be the benefit of that? Let me know. Because I can just speak some Japanese right here. If you have any questions or you want me to say anything, let's see. I can't read the Cyrillic, but from Seattle, Washington, nice to see you there. Jewel says, sometimes, although I read a different example, I cannot understand the main meaning or uses. How can I find the alternatives? All right, so good question. So you should be looking for, and you can give me an example. If you have any word that you don't understand, this is easier with just giving people examples of things. But let me know. If there's a word, and anyone can post a word here that maybe they've heard it, but they don't really understand what it means, and so they don't feel confident using it, just post an example. That will be a little bit easier to explain this. But I just gave one example before in this video with Japanese, like the word shuseki. And because I didn't understand it when I first heard it, it's just like a word. It's just a sound to me. But when I hear it again in a different context, that's where it becomes understandable. So I'm looking for ways to make something understandable. I gave this example a while ago, but imagine you're a young child and you see a cat. I think I also put this in that short clip that I released a few days ago. So if you see this, so it's an animal, like you can look at it, you can see what it is. And if I say, let's say I say, I don't know, like scruffy. You just hear me say this sound. So I point at the cat and I say scruffy, scruffy. Now, at first, it's not really clear what I mean by that. So if you don't understand anything about English and you're just hearing me say a word and I'm pointing to a cat, you can make some guesses about that. Maybe I'm talking about the color of the cat. Maybe I'm talking about like the quality of the hair. Maybe scruffy, this is a capital here and that's the name of the cat. It could be. So it's only when you get other examples that help you isolate what the problem is or what the exact meaning is. Another way to think about this is like a science experiment, where if I have like two plants, so I have a plant here and a plant here, and I've got some sunlight, and I've got some sunlight over here, and the same kind of dirt, so the same soil. This one gets water, so I put a water drop on that one, but this one does not get water. So here, I'm trying to find like which one of these plants is going to grow better, like the one that has the soil and the sunshine and the water, or just the soil and the sunshine but no water. So here you can see like this plant does not grow, and I think, oh, well, the problem is probably, most likely, the water. And so what you're trying to do when you get examples in a language, it's really like a puzzle. And you need to get as many different angles of something as possible. So I'll just give you yet another example. So let's say you hear, the word monolith. If I'm spelling that correctly, I think I am, monolith. So let's say you hear the word monolith, monolith. Now maybe this word doesn't mean anything to you. Maybe you see an example of a monolith. I'm just going to draw like that. So it's like a large rock standing in the ground like that, a monolith. Now at first, especially if you think about a young child, like a parent just says, oh look, that's a monolith over there, a monolith. But you don't really know what that means. It's like, okay, I guess this is a monolith, but what does that mean? And so it's only when you start getting more examples, like if we take mono, let's say you hear mono and hear it in a different context, like monotone. So monotone is like, just like it's one sound. Or I could talk about like a monorail. So I have a train that's just going, instead of like a regular train on 2 tracks, a monorail is just on 1. And so as I get these different examples, and they're in slightly different contexts, it helps me understand, oh, I bet mono means 1. And it does. So mono, anytime you hear this, like monotonous, monotone, monorail, monolith, look, it's one rock. And so that's where like, with an I, that's right. Excuse me. I don't know. I can't think today. But yes, that's correct. Monolith. I don't know why I was thinking with the Y. With the Y. Anyway, English can be tricky like that. But yes, so that's correct. It should be monolith with the I in it. And so, yes, so the same idea. But again, if you imagine you're just hearing these words, you will see those examples. And after a while, you will make that connection. So how quickly can you get those examples? So here I just gave you a bunch of examples all at the same time. Yes, so monotonous is the same thing. So if something is boring, it's always the same. It's like one thing. Monotonous. So it's the same thing. Like, wow, this is a very monotonous speech or a monotonous song or something. So when you hear just monotonous by itself, it sounds like a long, tricky word where you don't really understand what it means. But because you've had these other examples, now it makes a lot more sense. You get to understand it, and you understand it more like a native, and you understand, oh, look at that. Like we have all these examples that help us have a pretty good idea, and each time we hear one of these, we feel more confident about that. So if I hear something like mono something else, and you can just Google the word like mono, and probably all of those are going to be an example of one something. Okay? So similar ideas like uni. So if I have a unicycle, it's just a little seat, a little seat like that on a wheel. So this is a unicycle. So unicycle. So if I just have one wheel, that's a unicycle. But if I have two wheels, this is a bicycle. So the pronunciation is a little bit different, but you can see, like, look at that, like cycle and cycle mean the same. But we've got uni for one and bi for two. Okay. A monohand. I've never heard the word monohand, but I could imagine. Look at that. Thank you so much, Tom Hanks. Yes, I was waiting for another Tom Hanks reference. All right. So everybody getting it? Everybody understanding the idea here? All right. So this is how you do it. You want to look for something that's a little bit different. So this is what I do as a teacher. Like, I have to think about this when I organize these things in Fluent for Life. When I'm teaching lessons, like, I go through the hard work of finding all the examples. But it certainly is possible to get it. So the faster you get these examples, the faster you get fluent. So if you want to get fluent faster, get more examples. Okay? And it's just something that helps you understand. Often if you just try to repeat something, that's not really going to make it easier to understand. So you need to get different examples: monotone, monorail, monolith. I don't know why I said why. That's so weird. But anyway, hopefully that makes sense. Let's see here. All right, the cat on that canvas rocks. You're getting better at drawing. Yes, like, I'm not trying to draw well. It should be as clear as I can, as fast as I can, because I'm, number one, not the best drawer. Number two, it would take a long time for me to draw, some good good pictures over here. All right, Victor says, can you explain the usage of gerund after the preposition to? I hear a lot of English speaking saying a verb on gerund after the word, but don't really get the reason why yet. Victor, instead of thinking like an English student, try to think more like a native. Give me an example, and we'll help you understand what it means. So rather than trying to think, like, if you try to ask a native speaker, like, what do we have, like gerund or like to plus infinitive or whatever, it's not going to mean anything to them. But if you just think about the situation, like I showed before, we want to connect situations with vocabulary. So rather than, the problem with thinking about just like a grammar point by itself is that you start thinking about the word, and the word really doesn't mean anything when it's separate from a situation. So we always want to think about the vocabulary with the situation, and that's how you understand it like a native. So rather than trying to cover specific rules, you want to think like, here's the situation in which we do this. I mean, it's helpful to know the name of a grammar point so you can look it up. But like when I'm teaching, I don't want to use a bunch of grammar terms other than just giving you those so you can look them up. But I want to help you understand the situations. So when do we use certain vocabulary? So if you'd like me to cover something, give me an example sentence and let me know a specific thing you have a question about. Aglin says, Southern California. Hello, Drew, and chat room. Nice to see you there. Monotonous, very good, Prof. Says Amado. Thank you, sir. And let's see. All right, got it. Hello, Drew. It's my first time being here from Maryland. Nice to see you there, but yeah, welcome. All right, I think everybody's getting it, though. Let's see. I wish I could have deleted my native language for a certain amount of time in my brain to learn a second language as a first and then recover it back. Yeah, you don't have to do that, though. So I know like this is like a funny idea and I understand what you're saying, but if you think about it logically, you already know and you already speak multiple first languages, okay? So learning English it's not like a difficult thing to do that. It's just how you learn. So let's say, I don't know what your native language is. Let's say your native language is French, just because it's short and I can write it quickly up here. So if your native language is French, you actually know at least a couple of different first languages, a few different native languages. So you've got French as the general language, but you also have like how you speak with kids, how you speak casually, how you speak professionally, how you speak to like a boss or, okay, Armenian. So it's the same idea. It doesn't matter what your language is, but it works same in Armenian, I'm guessing. So there are words that people use with children that they don't use with adults. All right? So like, I don't know, like I wouldn't tell my friend I have to go pee pee or something. Like it would sound funny if I'm like, I'm sorry, I have to go pee pee. But it's like, yeah, I have to go to the toilet. So people use different expressions for different people. And it's all in the same language, okay? So I'm using one way when I speak with kids. I'm using one way when I speak with my friends. So this is the vocabulary. It might even be the grammar being a little bit different. It could be the pronunciation, even the way I speak. So professionally, it's a little bit different. And again, like even if within my own industry, I might know vocabulary that other people don't know. So like mentioning things like gerund or infinitive or causative or whatever, all those things are things that most people, just regular people, would not know. And so that's specific vocabulary that I can use as a first language. All right? So how you speak with kids, casually, professionally, all these different things are first languages for you. You already know how to do them, and each one of these things, like it's really interesting. When I was young, I had a friend, actually this happened with a few different friends, but like they would speak on the phone differently with their parents than they would like speaking with me. So I had a friend, I have two different friends actually, this same particular thing. One girl, her mom is from India, I think. I'm not going to bother writing it, but so her mom is from India, her dad is from the United States, and then another girl, like both of her parents are from Sri Lanka, I think. But both of them are born and raised in the United States. I think both of them are born and raised here or in the United States. But when they are speaking with me, they speak with the kind of regular American accent, the same way I'm speaking right now. But when they're on the phone with their parents or with their mother, like they sound like a different person. It's like British English on the phone and American English in person with me. Isn't that interesting? So people will, I call this code switching. This is like a regular term for this, where you're kind of switching the way you speak depending on whom the conversation is happening with. So again, a person can be fluent in both of these languages at the same time. So you don't get fluent in just one. You are already fluent in multiple first languages. So all you have to do is make one of these English. That's it. just like I gave you the example before. So the only difference is how you learn these things rather than like trying to learn it through your native language, all right? So if you learn English in English, just like you learn all these other things, in your native language, then you will learn to speak it the same way. So you don't have to erase the language you already have. You already have multiple first languages. You can use all those, and it's the same thing if you just do it with English as well. Let's see. All right, Orson says, how to understand give up and give in. Okay. So if I'm giving up, like you can think about me, let's say I'm trying to think of so these are both phrasal verbs, like to give up to something or give up like to a group of people or just give up doing something. You can think about like putting your hands up like I quit. I can't do anything anymore. So if the police are chasing me, they say like, stop running, just give up, like put your hands up like this. Okay, I accept defeat, so I give up. Like I'm giving up like my trophy or whatever, or my life or something else to somebody else. I'm quitting doing something. Now giving in is a little bit more like I'm try to draw this physically for you just to help people understand it, because they're a little bit different for how you understand them. So if I'm giving in to something, it's like there's some kind of pressure on me to do something. So a friend of mine is like, tell me the secret. And I'm like, no, I don't want to tell you, but every day he keeps asking me, please tell me the secret, please tell me the secret. And I'm like, okay, finally I give in and just tell him the secret. So finally I'm just like, okay, like I give in to the temptation. Instead of like the pressure is pushing on me, then I finally accept the pressure and I kind of like give into it. So I welcome that thing, or I accept that thing, to give into that. So often we hear about like giving in to pressure, or talking about like giving in to, typically it's some kind of pressure or force, or you're like giving in to like a spell, or maybe you're just tired or something and you're like, I can't do it anymore. So you're not fighting against something, you finally accept that thing. So it's a little bit different from give up, but this again just means there's some kind of pressure on you and you're deciding to accept that thing. So okay, I gave in to the temptation. I saw a beautiful like chocolate bar and I was really hungry. I wanted to eat that chocolate bar, so I gave in and ate the chocolate bar. All right, but when you give up, it's just kind of like you see how it's a little bit different from this. So like if I'm running away from the police, or if I'm fighting in a game and I just quit, I like stop doing anything, it means I just give up. So I don't like accept that thing, I just stop fighting, I give up. Okay, so when you give in, like you're kind of welcoming this thing, but when you give up, you just stop whatever you're doing. So I quit the game, I quit running from the police, I quit whatever I'm doing. So that's the difference. Let's see. All right, sir, please set course for who are not native speaker. What do you mean? Yeah, I don't teach native speakers. I teach people who are trying to become fluent speakers. All right, let's see. What do you think about Portuguese? Are you asking me personally? I mean, I don't speak any Portuguese. I don't know any Portuguese. It sounds fine. I don't really have an opinion about it. Casey says, okay, you want to argue? I'd have to say I'm in no rush to learn a language I've already mastered and shortened for easy use. Yes, like the goal of this video is not to tell people that they have to do anything. I'm not like, maybe some people want to get fluent slowly. That's fine. I don't care. Well, it doesn't matter to me. My point is, for the people who do want to get fluent faster, the way to do that is to get the examples closer together. That's how you do it. So you shorten the amount of time between when the examples happen. I want to make this really clear because, well, you need to hear things many times often to make them clear. But the point is, people think that fluency comes with time. So they think that like they start learning here, and at this point, like I get fluent, and fluency fluency improves with time. But really what's happening is that it's not that you're improving with time, it's just that each time you get an example of something, the fluency improves. But the fluency improves here and here. It's like you understood something and you understand it a little bit better and a little bit better over here. So it's not the amount of time. Time didn't get you fluent. It's these examples at these times that got you fluent. So if you push those examples closer together, then you get fluent faster because you're understanding these examples all here instead of spread out. So either I can get fluent in like a day or an hour or a minute for that vocabulary, or I can get the examples more spread out. So you don't get fluent just by spending more time with something. You have to be, it's only the time where you actually get the stronger understanding. That's the time where the fluency actually improves. So this time in here, between these examples, there's no improvement really happening. Okay? Does that make sense? So it's not like when people say time, like what I really want to do is organize my time so that I get a bunch of examples here for this word. Now I understand it. Now I move on to the next word and then understand that and keep going like that. All right? So it's not like I keep repeating the word over and over again and after the 50th time, now I get it. That's probably not going to happen. So you can repeat something over and over and over and over, but is that really building your understanding? It's probably not. But when you get these, again, what I call naturally varied review, you're getting this example, this example, this example, and each one of these together, it's building on that understanding. And as you get these new examples, they help you understand things like a native rather than using translations or definitions. And that's when you can use it fluently. So the goal is not to be fluent fast. If you don't care about that, that's fine. I'm just saying for the people who do, like me, so I would like to improve my fluency faster by getting these examples. So when I'm learning, I hate not understanding something. So if I get a lesson from a teacher and I'm like, I don't understand what that means. I learned something, but I don't understand it. I don't feel confident using it. So that lesson didn't really help me. Or it's just the first part of like a series of things, and all together, that's what builds your fluency. But you want to get those quickly if you want to get fluent faster. That's the whole point of this video. All right. So I'm certainly not arguing with anybody. Go ahead and get fluent slowly if you like. I should make a video for people who want to get fluent slowly. So the video would be like, it would be the same video as this one, but I would just say wait 10 years between each example. That'd be my get fluent slowly video. All right. Let's see. Victor, again, they objected to sitting on in the smoking section. I don't know what that's talking about. Is that your example? They objected to sitting. Yeah. So again, like in that example, and it's really important to understand these things as an example by itself. So like they objected to, and then like that thing, in that case, we're using, it's just as a noun. And so you could replace that with something else. And so the naturally varied review comes, like as you get different examples, it's like they objected to something. So they objected to something, or like I can make this even simpler to understand, like I don't like whatever. So here, like objected to is the same thing. It's where we would, for like the verb object, we use to here, but maybe we don't do that with a different verb like. So I don't say like to in this example, but like they objected to birds. So here I'm just using another noun, but I'm using it correctly in this, like they don't like birds. They objected to birds. All right. So here I recognize, like, okay, I'm just using some kind of noun. It's a thing that people don't like. They object to something. They object to something. So they object to birds. They object to cookies. So maybe they don't like cookies. They object. I object to cookies. I don't like that thing. Or we don't want that thing. All right? So instead of using a noun like this, I can take a verb and turn it into a noun and make it like smoking or swimming, like that. But be careful when you're trying to learn something. Like a lot of learners will be trying to connect this. Like, wait a minute, you have to before a verb, but it's got ing. Like, you don't do that. Why do we do that? And it's really only learners who have this problem because they're trying to begin with the vocabulary rather than begin with the situation. So in this situation, we have a specific construction, object to, and then we can just object to all kinds of things. So I can object to any like physical thing. I can object to doing something. Same idea. All right. So these are all nouns. Smoking, swimming. These are just names of activities or things I could do. All right. So when we use object, we use to like in that particular construction. So sometimes you will have to before ing. It's just in this situation, that's how we do it. And so what I'm trying to do here is give you some different examples to help you feel confident about this situation by itself. So rather than trying to learn like what are all the examples when we use to plus infinitive or just like the ing form, I'm trying to keep this simple, but it's better to not do that. It's better to get the actual just a bunch of examples. So it's helpful to know the name of it, like gerund or infinitive or whatever, but that's only for looking these things up. Native speakers don't know that information. So here, they object to something. And so now when you remember this, like object to, it's just some kind of noun. That's it. But I can think about this as an activity. So like today we are doing many different things. What are we doing today? Today we are swimming. We are going to the store. We are playing basketball. We are doing this. And it's just like, here's a list of activities. Okay? So to object, we actually, the to is connected with object rather than being connected with the verb. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. But that's how you would do these. You would get these examples by looking at one situation. So look at the situation by itself and then see how we can get something until we understand that. It's like, okay, these are just different activities, any kind of noun that I don't like or don't want. All right? Yes, so you got it. All right, glad to hear it. So remember, and this is a tricky thing about the language, like people think like that the to is connected with this. Like we don't say two birds, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about object to. It's connected with this word instead. But you don't really know that unless you get a bunch of examples. And so whenever you see something like this, try to switch it with something else and see if that sentence still makes sense. That's why I'm doing this here. So I don't even want to only give like a bunch of like gerunds or whatever with just like ing words. I want to also give you just some regular nouns to make it easier to understand. So they object to birds. They object to coffee. Yeah, I don't like coffee. I object to coffee. I object to, television. I object to books. It's just, I don't like that thing. I don't want that thing. I object. I object. Okay? So when you object to, it's just connected with this instead. All right? So look for more examples and then try to use a different word here to see if that makes sense. This is what we do a lot in the grammar focus lessons in Fluent for Life. And so we'll give different examples. It's like, does this one make sense? Does that one make sense? Just so people really understand, okay. Yes, so like I object to, so the same kind of thing. Good example. People are getting it. They're understanding here. Let's see here. And I think, hopefully, all right, even the intonation is so different that a regular speech of mine sounds very rude in English. Yep, and again, you can just learn to do these different things, multiple ways of speaking, but it all can be as a first language. All right, I think some people are speaking to each other. How should I say table in French? I don't know, I don't speak French. I think it's like tableau or something if I'm writing that down. Someone asked about wear down. So if you think about wearing something like they're different uses of the word. So I can have wear clothing, but to wear also means the physical thing, like to rub on something and to make it weaker. So I'm putting some friction. Right now I'm trying to like wear down, like my nose. I got kind of burned on, I was in a softball tournament on Sunday and I got burned. So you can see like I'm trying to wear down my skin because it's peeling off, to wear it down. So you can wear down a person, like young kids, they're asking their parents all the time, like, can we buy this toy? Can we buy this toy? And I say, no, 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 no. And after a while, I'm just like, okay, fine, we'll buy the toy. So they're wearing me down in the same way. So you can physically wear something down like this. You continue putting more pressure and friction on it, it makes it worse. And the same way you can wear down a person by continuing to do something over and over again. Casey again, is that a trick question? And is this a must-have in order to converse with you? Or is it like me involving a code word? I don't understand, Casey. What is is that a question for me? I don't understand. Let's see. Excellent. Teacher Drew says, excellent. Thank you. My pleasure. Gustavo looks like the top of his head blew off. Gustavo, are you okay? Let me know if you're okay over there. Eunice, hey, Drew, we are baby native speakers, aren't we? Yes. You're teaching us as native speakers. We learn English from you as a first language. Right. Yes, that's the whole point. So I'm trying to help you connect vocabulary with situations the same way natives do. Not try to take even vocabulary by itself or grammar points, which is like the worst thing, the most confusing thing you could do. So user, I'd get fluent faster if I had an English native to speak to break down sentence for me, but time is money. Well, user, this is exactly what we do in Fluent for Life. That's why I made the program. So I don't have anything like this in Japanese, or I haven't found anything like that for Japanese. I would buy it if there was such a thing available, but I didn't have that for English, and so I made it for people. So all like this kind of stuff, this is what like you can really learn anything you want to in the program. That's why we made it. Lucas is, of course, all you guys are talking with each other. Top-notch explanation, says Werda. Why is it so easy to understand what you are saying, but not easy to speak and have confidence? Gustavo, it depends on what you're talking about, because if you understand at least some words or phrases, you should feel confident using those, and then you just apply that to more and more phrases and vocabulary and grammar. And over time, the fluency develops on its own. My understanding and comprehension of the language are great, but I cannot speak at all. That is the problem. Yes. So again, like if you understand things on a logical level, but you can't yet speak, it's because you don't really understand it like a native speaker. That's usually the issue. So you're thinking about it logically, like I know like we have like to plus infinitive, or we have gerund or whatever. You're thinking about it like a student, but a native doesn't think like that. A native just thinks, in this situation, I use this. And this is even more important, a native speaker knows that there are many ways to express something. So in a situation, so here's like whatever situation is, I'm ordering some food, I'm going to the store, I'm talking with people. There are many ways of expressing myself. Okay, so I could do lots of different things in order to express whatever. So like a greeting in the morning, I could say, hey, hello, how are you? How are you doing? How you been? How's the family? And I can give lots of different things like that. And I might, like, maybe I don't feel confident about using all of them, but I don't have to use all of them in a sentence. There are usually one or two that I use frequently with people. All right, Eklund says, just subscribed, Drew, been watching your channel for almost a month, learned a lot from you. Salamat to you, Tagalog for thank you. Well, it's my pleasure. You're in Philippines, I guess. Lucas says, Manus rain every day. A friend of mine told me so about it. Is that true? All right. Oh, you guys are speaking with each other over there. Once I heard billfold, but I don't know if it's usual as a wallet, but I've never heard it again. No bunch of examples. But yes, Aran, it's a similar thing. A wallet is like a billfold. Yeah. And people might have different ways of carrying money, or they might call them different things. You might have a money clip, or a billfold, or a wallet, or some people might even say like a kind of purse for that. But if you want to know like specific, like a physical vocabulary word like that, I recommend just doing a Google search for images. So if you do a Google image search, you'll see a whole bunch of different examples for billfold. So you can do wallet and see what kind of examples you get. You can do billfold, see what kind of examples you get, or money clip or whatever. And that's how you will understand it like a native. So you will see, oh, look at that. Like wallet and billfold mean the same thing. It's just most people say wallet. Billfold is kind of an older expression, but people will understand what that is. All right. Hi, everyone says, Lage, I'm late. Don't you mind giving me a summary? You can say, would you mind? Would you mind giving me a summary? All right, here's a quick summary of what I'm talking about in this video. So I mentioned before I was learning a word in Japanese. I first heard the word was shuseki, when my younger daughter was going to kindergarten, and my wife said, put the shuseki card in your backpack. And this is all in Japanese, but just to make it easy for you. So I heard the word and I didn't really know what it meant. I just heard shuseki and it doesn't really mean anything to me there. I thought it just meant some kind of school card or something. But 3 years later, I heard the word shuseki again, but this was talking about attending a meeting. And so when I understood both of those, in my mind, I went back automatically and was like, attendance card. Shuseki kado is like an attendance card. And so it made sense, it took 3 years for me to understand that word. But it's not because I was studying the word for 3 years and it was difficult, it took a long time. It's just because I got a word here and then I got the second example that helped me understand it over here. So you can become fluent faster if you get the examples faster. So if, let's say, on the same day I hear 2 different examples that help me understand something, then I'm fluent in that and I feel confident using it. But if it takes me 4 years or 10 years or something, then it's just going to take me that long. But it's not because I needed that much time, it's just I didn't get the examples fast enough. So if you want to get fluent faster, you just need to get your examples, what I call naturally varied review, the examples that help you understand something like a native speaker. When you understand something like a native, then you understand it and you can use it fluently. That's how it works. So I'm asking people, how quickly do you want to get fluent? So you don't have to live in an English-speaking country or practice repeating something a whole bunch of times. The point is just to get to understanding as quickly as possible. And this happens 1 word at a time, usually. Or it could be a phrase or grammar point. Let's see. Okay, I think I answered all those. Is it different meaning indeed? Oh, okay. Professor, do you give class in private? No, I do not. And I answered that question at the beginning of this video. Excuse me. So the reason I don't do private lessons is because just like this example over here, if you only hear from one teacher, then it's just kind of like repeating something again and again. You're only hearing my pronunciation. My speech is going to be a little bit slower than natives and how they would really communicate. So you need to get a wide range of people. And private lessons are going to be a little bit helpful, but it's much better if you can get lots of different examples from different speakers faster. So that's what we do in Fluent for Life. Again, a lot I could do private lessons, but I do not because it's just not really the best way to learn. The wear down is when you give in. It could be. Good question. So my children are wearing me down until I give in. So you give in at a point where you're like, okay, fine, I accept that thing. I will do what that is. All right. Oh, it was a king emoji. Oh, that's what that was. Oh, my goodness, Gustavo, I'm glad you're okay. Glad to hear your head didn't pop off because it kind of looks like the explosion one, where people are like, wow, I understood something. Can you wear perfume? Yes, people do wear perfume. I don't know if people use it if they apply perfume or use something else, but yeah, typically people wear perfume. Abraham says, Drew, could you explain to me the meaning of this phrase, it's up to us to read between the lines? Okay, you're going to combine a bunch of different things. First of all, when something is up to you, it means it's your choice, it's your responsibility, you must do that thing. So it's up to you to get up tomorrow morning. So you have to wake up. I'm not going to wake you up tomorrow. You have to do that yourself. All right, so that's one part of that. So it's up to you. So that means you must do it yourself. It's your responsibility. Now, the second part of that is to read between the lines. To read between the lines usually means like the lines of text, but there's the written words, and then there's the truer or deeper meaning that someone might have. So if I'm telling someone, like I might say, you should really clean up your room right now. Like if you're kind of reading between the lines, like you better clean up your room or there's going to be trouble. So I'm not saying that, but like that's you reading between the lines. So it's kind of understanding a deeper or hidden meaning of something. So you have to do that by yourself. So it's up to you to look up those particular things or get that. All right, hopefully that makes sense. Let's see. A lot of indigenous people there. One live speech, native connected speech. Let's see. Did I skip some of these? Okay. Yeah, we don't. You might say put perfume on, but we don't. Usually, it's like wearing some kind of perfume. Aziz says, "I want to make a conversation with you." Remember, you get fluent by understanding. Like having a conversation with me is maybe a little bit helpful, but it's not necessary. All right, a lot of it. Okay, I got that one already. Hi, I was hoping to get on one of your live videos. Well, here you are, Anonymous. Let's see. The problem is that I can't get into improving my vocabulary. Can you tell me I can have more passion on that? Thank you from Vietnam. Well, why are you not into improving your vocabulary now? I could guess why that is. Probably it's because you're just repeating vocabulary over and over again. And it's really difficult for us to get to review stuff. So that's why in Fluent for Life, we use Naturally Varied Review. We want to give you the same information in different ways from different speakers in different contexts to really help you understand it the same way a native would. So often if people are bored by learning things, it's just they're not interested in the vocabulary or whatever. That's usually the reason. So repetition is really boring. The mind is not interested in that. So you need to find some way to make the information new. So you need to combine old with the new. I talked about that in, I don't know, a few videos ago. But that's how you actually become fluent in something, and you can feel your improvement each time. So I could physically feel it, just like this example here. So if I hear shuseki over here, or excuse me, this says 3 years. So this is 3 years between the times I hear this word. So when I hear shuseki over here, I don't really understand anything. But the second time I heard it, then it became clear. It's like, okay, now I understand what you're talking about. And now I can use that. So I'm not just repeating something over and over and over. I'm actually improving by getting different examples, and that helps me understand better. So the good feeling from learning vocabulary comes as you understand something better. So I remember actually recently I got a member of Fluent for Life. We had a few members actually of Fluent for Life write me and were just like, thank you so much for the program. It's like helping me improve a lot. And so yeah, that's what it's supposed to help you understand like a native, and you actually want to continue going through the lessons. So if you really don't want to like review anything at all in any way, then you're not going to get fluent in anything. But remember how you get fluent in your native language. You're getting varied examples from different people in different contexts at different times, and that's what gets you fluent. Let's see. Okay, so hopefully I answered that question. Let me know if I'm right about that. RM says Japan. All right. I got a question. I want to know how you can get fluent like somebody that grew up with both English and their native language. Well, it's just how I explained in this video. So this video is explaining how you get fluent as a native speaker. You get fluent in English as a first language by learning it as a first language rather than learning it through your native language. So I could, at the same time, it might be a little bit confusing, I could learn Turkish and Swahili and, I don't know, Brazilian Portuguese or whatever. I could learn all those things at the same time if I learn them all within that language. So it's possible for me to do that. But it becomes more difficult if I'm trying to learn them through English. So I don't know if there's a theoretical limit to how many languages you could know. I don't see why there would be, because again, like I explained before, there are multiple languages that you speak even in your first language. And so if you look at little kids, like they learn the language of math, the language of science, they learn the language of Pokemon characters. Like it's like little kids are learning all this vocabulary for various video games or things. Like each video game might even have its own vocabulary. So those are all different languages that you learn, and you're kind of using them from your main language. But the point is you're learning them all the same way. So that's how you do it. Don't have the option of give money here. Lucas is asking. You mean like a super chat or something? If you like what I do, join our programs. Or get Frederick. That's how we earn money to keep doing what we do. Can I learn phrasal verbs without looking them up in a dictionary? Yes, absolutely. You just see them in action. Look, here's one right here. Take off the cap. Put on the cap. There you go. You didn't use a dictionary for that. So that's what we do in Fluent for Life and the Visual Guide to Phrasal Verbs. All right, Netta says, thanks a million, got it. Many thanks, sir. Is there a live session every day at the same time? No, I usually do maybe 1 or 2 of these a week, but they're not scheduled. They're usually around like Monday and Thursday my time in Japan. Could you please turn on the subtitles for your live streams and videos so I can get some new words you say? Yes, I think usually I put those on. They take a couple of days to do that, though. So Google is like producing those, and then it just takes a while because this is live. They don't do like live subtitles. Beta says, why didn't you ask your wife the meaning of that word instead of waiting 3 years? Is your wife Japanese? Yes, my wife is Japanese. The reason I didn't ask is because I just didn't think about it. I hear lots of words all the time, and it's if you think about all the information that comes into your head all the time, there are lots of things. I might hear like 100 new Japanese words or more, 1,000 new Japanese words. I could be sitting down on just a chair outside, and other people are talking, and maybe I understand a lot of what they say, but there might be some new word that I don't know. And I'm not, like trying to consciously learn every new word, so most of the time I don't think about it. But if they're common words, I will probably hear them again. So if I think it's important and it's necessary for me, I might try to give myself more active review, like the way I do in Fluent for Life. I just do that for myself, but often it doesn't matter. It's not that big of a deal. Let's see. So wearing me down until I give in. Excellent. What means make up, Aziz says? Well, it depends on what you mean by make up. There are a couple different examples of that. Make up could be meaning to repair a relationship after a fight or something. That's one form of making up. Or like women applying, like making up their face. Let's see. Leave the like, hit the like button. Yes, Lucas has a good point. Everyone click that like button right now. So for more examples, I can just Google it right. Yes, well, you can Google, but use Google or YouTube, especially Google image search, rather than just Google text. Shouldn't B2 students have issues conjugating verbs? Shouldn't B2 students have issues? You're asking if they should have issues? What do you mean? I don't know what you mean by that. Or if they should not. The English Fluency Bridge. Yes, I haven't like used that term in a while, but yeah, it's what I'm talking about. What time is it? Okay. Oh my goodness. Been on here for 83 minutes and counting. Matthias, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, what do you think about learning a language using the books of Arthur M. Jensen? I'm using these books to learn German and Italian, and the review of the chapter using natural reviewing from YouTube. I don't know who Arthur M. Jensen is, but if it's helping you, then keep doing it. So most of what I tell people to do, like you can check it by yourself if it's true or if it's helpful for you or not. So if I say something and then you try it, like, well, this doesn't work at all, then maybe I'm wrong or whatever. But most of the things I do, it's just because natives do those same things. All All right, Abdallah says, please answer me if important listening to anything really you don't understand it or not, like children learn their own language. Yes, but as an adult, it's really confusing to us and it's frustrating to hear things that we don't understand. So children have a patience for that because they have to. And they're just getting new information all the time. So when I'm teaching my kids, I don't have a lot of time with my daughters because they're at school or I'm working or whatever. So I have to be very efficient about how I teach them English. Most of their day is spent in Japanese, so I can't just blah, 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 give them a lot of language and hope they understand things. I have to be efficient with my own kids, and that's why I teach you all the same way. So most people who are learning languages as adults, they don't have a lot of time to just listen to lots of English, and even if they do, it's not really a good way to learn. It's just a very inefficient way to do it because you're getting information, it's not systematic, you probably don't understand everything, and then you have all these open loops in your mind where you're like, okay, what does that mean? And then you hear this other word over here. It just gets very confusing for people. So yes, it's important to get native input, but structured native input is the key. The point is to help you understand it like a native. So if you understand something, then you can use it. So I'm learning English for 8 months. So you would say months, but when people speak fast, I don't understand them, says Aziz. Yeah, so that's common. Often the people who are learning the language, they're learning one kind of English, and people speaking are speaking a different kind of English. So that's why you need to learn in a way that will help you understand native speakers. I have to make up for the lost time. What does that mean? Well, it just means you lost some time and now you have to get back. So if you're running in a race and other people are now ahead of you up here, you have to make up for lost time. So that's a different use of make up or make up for. Jewel says, I need to write down words that I want to review or how to review process, sir. Yeah, you just need to get more examples. It could be something that you write down or you hear it or you read it or you watch it someplace. So you can just type a particular word into Google and it will give you lots of different examples. Go to different websites and look at those different examples, or go to YouTube and do the same thing, or get Fluent for Life. So that's what we do. It's all organized for you like that. Arthur M. Jensen is the author of The Natural Method. Okay. It's normal for B2 student to make mistakes related to conjugations like she have, or that student is not a B2 because of those kind of mistakes. Well, I mean, if you're talking about classifying people by level, I don't know. I don't really do that just because some people might be good at some things but not others, or they know a lot of vocabulary but their actual ability to communicate is not very high, so it just depends. Then it says, so I said, don't you mind, which I wanted to say, do you mind? So is it acceptable to say, do you mind giving instead of would you mind? Yeah, you can use do you mind or don't you mind? I mean, it's the kind of natural way to say it is do you mind or would you mind? Those would be more natural than don't you mind. Because if you say don't you mind, it's you're asking if I'm not happy with something. It's a little bit different. How to learn pronunciation the right way and not just see how to read a word once and forget about it. Get Frederick. Click on the link in the description below this video and install that app. It will teach you pronunciation and help you learn all the vocabulary and grammar too. Abraham says, hello, thank you for the lessons. My pleasure. I'm making up my mind to get fluent in English soon. All right, very good. Well, I'll make sure to get subtitles up. I'll check to see if any of them have not been automatically subtitled. But we've got to the end of the comments. Thank you very much. Look at that. And before I lose my voice, too, let me get a nice, delicious drink of water. Special Japanese water. It helps me speak Japanese, this water does. All right, well, hopefully everyone understands this. Just a very quick recap with my fantastic piece of paper over here. People often think that you get fluent just by spending time doing something, but actually what's happening is you're getting fluent at moments of understanding. And if you can bring these moments of understanding closer together, then you get fluent faster. That's really the point of this video. So rather than thinking about living in an English-speaking country or like needing to practice or have a private teacher or anything like that. You just need to get these examples faster, and that's how you're going to get fluent faster. For people who want to get fluent faster. Maybe some people want to get fluent more slowly. That's a different video subject, I suppose. But you can take as much time you like or as you like between these examples. Should I use or install a robot chat app? If that works for you, I don't know, you can give that a try. But I don't do that for learning Japanese, but maybe it will be helpful. I don't know. Give me some water. What do you think, sir, movie is important to learn? Movies are less important for me because it's not enough review fast enough for me. It's a lot of information, and in order to really understand that and get a lot of examples, I want to have something smaller. So I want smaller chunks of information, like one conversation or one shorter video, and then get lots of review about that. And then once I feel very confident about that, then I would move on to the next thing. So Ackland says, arigato, Drew. So subtitles or transcriptions by the end of the live. Yeah, it always takes a while to get those. Thanks, Drew. Have a good one. And then it says, is sir commonly used in your culture as British speakers don't use? Yeah, you can call people sir. That's like it's used more like in professional situations, but you could use that. It would be okay. All right. So if you have any questions, you can also send us a mail at info@englishanyone.com. You can hear me losing my voice over here, but thank you for joining me. It's been a pleasure helping you understand this. This really is an important idea. It's like a wormhole, what's a good way to explain it? Like cutting time. So instead of trying to take a whole bunch of time to learn English, you can get fluent much faster by just getting the examples more efficiently. Have a fantastic day. Be sure to like this video. Everybody needs to click that like button right now. Thank you again for joining me, and click on the links in the description if you'd like to learn more and get fluent faster with Fluent for Life. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.